E.N.D here, day 10 and penultimate day for the spoilers of murders at Karlov Manor today and tomorrow, and this murder mystery set will be fully revealed. Anyway, let's start. And I want to start with the latest card for Nismicet Guild Pact for 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red and 1 green, 6/6, flying hexproof for multicolor. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it deals X damage to any target. Target player draws at cards and you gain X life, where X is the number of different color pairs among permanents you control that are exactly 2 colors. Hide in plain sight, 3 and 1 green sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, cloak 2 of them and put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Perimeter Enforcer, 1 and 1 white, 1/1, flying lifelink. Whenever another detective enters the battlefield under control and whenever a detective you control is turned face up, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Slimy Dual Leash, 3 and 1 black, 2/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature control with power 2 or less get +1/+0 and gain stat touch until end of turn. Commander, these are Commander exclusive cards that you can pull from collector booster boxes and also from the play booster boxes. Sophia Dog Detective for 1 green, 1 white and 1 blue, 3/4. Enters the battlefield, create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature token with trample. For 1, sacrifice an artifact token, put a +1/+1 counter on each dog you control. Whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice a food token, then investigate. Nice that this was spoiled exactly after the sold out of Raining Cats and Dogs. Feather Radiant Arbiter, 1 red and 2 white, 4/3, flying lifelink. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell that targets only Feather, you may choose any number of other creatures that spells could target and pay 2 for each of those creatures. If you do, for each of those creatures copy that spell, the copy targets that creature. Duskana Deranged Mother, 2/1 red, 1 green and 1 white, 5/5. Enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness of 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness of 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Marvo Deep Operative, 3 1 blue and 1 black, 1/8. Whenever it attacks, clash with defending player. Whenever you win a clash, draw a card, then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value 8 or less without paying its mana cost. Veiled Assassin, 3 and 1 white, enchantment. Enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on each face down creature you control. Face down creatures you control enter the battlefield with a flying counter on them. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cloak the top card of your library. Trouble in Pairs, 2 and 2 white, enchantment. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. Whenever an opponent attacks with 2 or more creatures, draw their second card each turn or cast their second spell each turn, you draw a card. True Identity, 1 and 1 white, enchantment. Whenever it or another permanent you control is turned face up, scry 1, then draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Disguise for 1 white. Immortal Obligation, for 1 and 1 white, instant. Return target creature card from an opponent's graveyard to the battlefield under their control with a duty counter on it. For as long as that creature has a duty counter on it, it's goaded, can't attack you or a permanent you control, and can't block creatures you control. Merchant of Truth, 2 and 2 white, 2/5, flying. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate. Clues you control have exalted. Armed with Proof, 2 and 1 white, enchantment. Enters the battlefield, investigate twice. Clues you control are equipment in addition to other types and have equip creature get +2/+0 and have equip for 2. Otherworldly Escort, 3 and 1 white, 4/3, with flash. Whenever it dies, if it's not a spirit, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with 4 charge counters on it. It's a spirit detective. For 1 and 1 white, tap, remove a charge counter from it. Destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn. Searing Sleuth, for 1 and 1 white, 2/2. Enters the battlefield, investigate. At the beginning of combat on your turn, investigate for each goaded creature you control. Then each creature you control is no longer goaded. Redemption Arc, 2 and 1 white, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has indestructible and is goaded. For 1 and 1 white, exile enchanted creature. Case of the Shifting Visage, for 1 and 2 blue, enchantment case. At the beginning of your upkeep, survey 1. To solve it, there are 15 or more cards in your graveyard. Solved. Whenever you cast a non-legendary creature spell, copy that spell. Copy Catchers, for 1 and 1 blue, 2/1, flying. Whenever you surveil, you may pay 1 and 1 blue. If you do, create a token that's a copy of Copy Catchers. This can multiply exponentially. Detective of the Month, 2 and 1 blue, 2/3, Ascend. As long as you have the City Blessing, detective control can't be blocked. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. Watcher of Hours 5 and 1 blue, 6/6, flying war 3. Whenever you remove a time counter from it while it's exiled, surveil 1. Suspend 6 for 1 and 1 blue. Final Well Phantom 2 and 1 blue, 1/4, flash, flying. During each opponent end step, you may cast spells as though they had flash. Follow the bodies 2 and 1 blue, sorcery. Gravestorm, investigate. Tangle Trove Kelp, 5 and 2 blue, 6/6, artifact creature, clue plant, war 2. At the beginning of each combat, other clues you control become a 6/6 plant creatures in addition to their other types until end of turn. 2. Sacrifice it, draw a card. Charnel Serenade, 4 and 2 black sorcery, surveil 3, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a penalty counter on it. Exile Charnel Serenade with 3 time counters on it. Suspend 3 for 2 and 1 black. Eye of Dusk Mantle, 5 and 2 black, 3/8, flying lifelink. You may play lands and cast spells from among cards in your graveyard you've surveilled this turn. If you cast a spell this way, you pay life equal to the mana value rather than pay its mana cost. Foreboding Steamboat, 3 and 2 black, 5/7, artifact vehicle. Enters the battlefield, each opponent chooses 2 non-token non-vehicle creatures they control. Exile them until it leaves the battlefield. Whenever it attacks, put a card exiled with it into its owner's graveyard. If you do, investigate crew for only 2. Unshakable Tail, 2 and 1 black, 3/2, enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, investigate. 2. Sacrifice a clue. Return Unshakable 10 from your graveyard to your hand. Ballbender, 3 and 1 red, 4/2, disguise for 1 and 1 red. Whenever it is turned face up, you may choose new targets for any number of other spells and or abilities. Havoc Eater, 5 and 2 red, 3/3, flying. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent gaunt up to 1 target creature that opponent controls, put X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is total power of creatures gaunted this way. Hot Pursuit for 1 and 1 red, enchantment, enters the battlefield, suspect target creature and opponent controls. As long as Hot Pursuit remain on the battlefield, that creature is also gaunted. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if 2 or more players have lost the game, gain control of all gaunted and or suspected creatures until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste until end of turn. Mob Verdict, 2 and 2 red, sorcery, secret council. Each player secretly votes for another player, then those votes are revealed. For each vote an opponent receives, it deals 2 damage to the player and each creature they control. For each vote you receive, draw a card. Show Stopping Surprise, 3 and 2 red, instant. Choose target creature control. Turn it face up if it's face down, then it deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. Prisoner's Dilemma, 3 and 2 red, sorcery. Each opponent secretly chooses Silence or Snitch, then the choices are revealed. If each opponent chooses Silence, it deals 4 damage to each of them. If each opponent chooses Snitch, it deals 8 damage to each of them. Otherwise, it deals 12 damage to each opponent who chooses Silence. Flashback for 5 and 2 red. Tessak Judas Hellhound, 3 and 1 red, 3/3, unleash. Other dogs you control have unleash. Creatures you control with counters on them have haste. Whenever it attacks, add 1 red mana for each attacking creature. Experiment 12, 3 and 1 green, 4/4 with trample. Whenever it or another creature you control is turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature equals to its power. Disguise for 4 and 1 green. Innocuous Researcher, 3 and 1 green, 3/4, parlay. Whenever it attacks, each player reveals the top card of the library. For each non-land card revealed this way, you investigate. Then each player draw a card. At the beginning of your end step, you may untap all lands you control. If you do, you can cast spells until your next turn. Print Lifter Ooze for 1 and 1 green, 2/2, Death Touch. Whenever it or another creature you control is turned face up, create a 0/0 green ooze creature token with trample. The token enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of other creatures you control. Disguise for 3 and 1 green. On the Trade for 1 and 1 green, enchantment. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Counterpoint, 3, 1 blue and 1 black, instant, counter target spell. You may cast a creature, instant, sorcery or planeswalker spell from your graveyard with mana value less than or equal to that spell's mana value without paying its mana cost. Knowledge is power, 3, 1 green and 1 blue. Enchantment, creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn. Take the Bait, 2, 1 red and 1 white, instant. Cast the spell only during an opponent's turn and only during combat. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn. Untap all attacking creatures and gouge them. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Panoptic Projector 4 Artifact Tap. The next face down creature spell you cast this turn costs 3 less to cast. If turning a face down permanent face up causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Ransom Note for 1 generic mana artifact clue. Enters the battlefield, survey 1. 2. Sacrifice it. Cloak the top card of your library. Go target creature or draw a card. So that was the last card in this particular day 10 and penultimate day for the spoilers of Murders at Karlov Manor. Join me again tomorrow for the last day of the spoilers of this murder mystery set. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more and more interesting videos about Magic the Gathering and the collectible world.